Hello and good morning for most of you, and welcome to another LinkedIn Live with me, Garth Sharif. I'm excited to be here on this Tuesday morning. It took last week off, did some traveling, and I'm back to bring another LinkedIn Live to you. So I'm excited to be here today. The subject of the LinkedIn Live, I think the theme has been for the last few weeks of my LinkedIn Live streaming has been on artificial intelligence and generative AI and some of the challenges, some of the good things around it, some of the not good things around it. So we're going to continue that conversation. Hopefully, checking in to make sure everything's going well. I think on my end the streaming is well, but you can let me know if it's choppy at all. But hopefully, it's coming across somewhat clear. My it could be my phone. It's a LinkedIn Live about technology, and I'm struggling with some of the technology. But I'll just going to continue on. Hope everything is working out. Good morning to those that are out there. So we're going to talk about learning from the failures of others, and this is and hi, thanks, Mead. Good to see you for those that are out there. So if I look at the buildup of my generative AI series, it's basically what my LinkedIn Live has turned into. If I look back to the very first post in December, which I did, which was like, what is this? Like, it's pretty cool. Where did it come from? How did we get to this place where we're kind of surprised by the technology with ChatGPT, but it's always sort of been in the background, but it's more accessible with OpenAI making it available, and everyone was exploring. So this big exploration phase and it's cool phase. So it kind of went through this, like, yeah, this is awesome. And then as we went through and I looked at my LinkedIn Lives, it was like, okay, what does this actually mean? What does it mean in terms of how we use it? What does it mean for society? Where is this going? So I guess it went from exploration to somewhat of uncertainty as, what is my involvement with this? How is this going to affect my work? And that was captured in one of my LinkedIn Lives on FOMO, fear of missing out. What was I missing out on in terms of using not just ChatGPT, but there's a lot of generative artificial intelligence platforms out there. Not all of them free and as accessible as ChatGPT. ChatGPT is, probably the biggest one that's free and accessible, even though they have some paywalls to it. And then as we've been going along, it's being more focused. We're beginning to see the power of generative AI for productivity, for creativity, for administrative work, for asking questions, for research. And so now it's beginning more about, like, how can I do things on ChatGPT that makes my life easier? Can I do research? Can I help my email be composed? Can I think about a way of creating a business development plan using ChatGPT, and all of these are available. And for those in the professional services space, lawyers, CPAs, engineers, there's a lot to like with generative AI in terms of what we can do to maybe leverage it and maybe find some time efficiencies, whether it be administrative tasks, whether it be creative tasks, composition, writing. There's a lot of ways in which we can use these tools, but here's the but as we start to learn. When you see a news story where something has gone wrong with ChatGPT or generative AI, I don't want you to take away that this is a terrible thing and we should just distance ourselves from it. I mean, last or 2 weeks ago, I talked about OpenAI's CEO who went to Congress and talked about maybe there should be regulations on generative AI because we just don't know what it might produce and how it might affect people and influence people politically, critical thinking wise. And there's this unknown. But still, there's a lot of power and potential with generative AI, and we can't stop this wave that's coming in terms of how it's going to affect our personal and professional lives. So I'm not here to like ring the alarm bell or whatever metaphor you might use to say, hey, let's run away from this. This is bad. But what I do want to bring to your attention, and that's the title of this one, Learning from the Failures of Others, is just some caution for those in the professional space. CPAs, lawyers, engineers, those that, for example, have a professional code of conduct, that have some sort of ethical standard to maintain their license, to maintain their designations. As a CPA, I do that. I have to do verifiable ethics hours. I have to maintain the professional code of conduct. There's an ethical code of conduct with 5 pillars that comes from the International Ethics Standards Boards of Accountants. And so, what does that mean? So, we want to use these tools. We want to maybe do research, help us write articles, help us with an accounting memo, potentially help us craft different decision matrix for us to figure out maybe what's the best path. These are all possibilities, but we want to be careful about leveraging our critical thinking and professional judgment to AI too much. We have to make sure our professional judgment and skepticism is still there. And professional judgment is what a lot of professionals have, this ability to use their acumen and their experience to look at a scenario and say, wait a minute, let me just really investigate the alternatives, what information I have, and come to a conclusion, not just rush into things. And it shares a relationship with professional skepticism. It's like, do we have this questioning mind? It's not questioning where it's paranoid, where like you doubt everything, but there's a spectrum here where you find a place where you take this information that you're getting from a source, generative AI, and you just say, do I take this wholesale, or do I think about it now? Because things can go wrong if you don't think about things. So this was a news story last week, and I think it's a good one to share. And it was on several major news outlets. It was on actually every news outlet. I'm just showing Bloomberg, and it was on the BBC. And again, there's a lot of news with generative AI developments and new platforms and what can go right, what can go wrong. So I want to be precise. So because it's so overwhelming, you might not have seen this, right? And to me, there's so many news stories. I kind of pick ones that I think kind of build the story of where maybe generative AI is going. And maybe I look back on these LinkedIn lives and I say, you know what? Some of the things I was saying is a little off, but I was trying to build what the story of generative AI is. And this is a story from a New York lawyer faces sanctions. And it's a result of using Chat GPT. And what this lawyer did in a hearing, and specifically Stephen Schwartz, it's published here in this article, acknowledged that ChatGPT invented cases that were using in court filing this to use, I believe, as in a personal injury case, where they were using the ChatGPT to bring cases in that were precedent or give some sort of framework for how the case should go. ChatGPT was asked by the lawyers to just basically come in and provide some information on their case and provide example cases. And if you look at any of these articles, each article has a little bit of detail. I thought the BBC one was pretty good. It seemed very, very innocent, right? So these filings were given to the court, and it cited certain cases. And these cases came from ChatGPT, from a lawyer's inquest around cases that could be used as precedent. Again, this was a man suing an airline over an alleged personal injury. His legal team submitted a brief that cited several previous court cases in an attempt to prove, using precedent, why the case should move forward. And so these cases were presented and filed in court. And then someone, I believe the judge, in these cases, I think 6 of the cases, and they weren't real. When we talked about one of the LinkedIn lives was on the hallucinations of generative AI, where they just fabricate information. And there were 6 cases that were filed in court that looked like it came from LexisNexis, a database of legal cases that a lawyer would go into to grab cases that fit the precedent for the case that they might be working on. And 6 of them were false. And they went back and asked ChatGPT, like, this is the Vargas case versus China Southern Airlines. They say, hey, ChatGPT, is this case real? And it says yes. And then ChatGPT says, hey, where's your source? And they say LexisNexis. But it wasn't. There was no, like, you had to go into LexisNexis, the database, the legal database, to actually see if the case was real. And it wasn't. It wasn't. So what does this mean? Right? What do you take away from this case? And I urge you to look at it. I mean, there's not a whole bunch of detail. I think I summarized it pretty well. But what do you take away from this? To me, it's really important as those that are working in professional spaces where they're asked to do research, asked to give information where it's coming from a source, accounting standards, legal cases, engineering manuals, whatever it might be, and it's being used to form an opinion. It's being used externally, in this case, a courtroom, a lawyer with a judge. You take a step back. I'm not putting cold water over generative AI, but this is a really good case to learn from. Really good because it's so alluring, ChatGPT. It does feel like when it provides a nice brief, let's say a legal brief. I'm not a lawyer, but a legal brief cites these 6 cases. It looks great. And it feels like it's, if you did double check, hey, where did you get these cases? And it says, hey, we got it from LexisNexis. Do I need to go to LexisNexis to really double check? No, it looks pretty good. Done. And I know the substance of what I'm trying to argue here. These cases are just superfluous around my core argument. So why not just submit it? Well, here is what can go wrong for those in the professional services. It's embarrassing. It's possible that there are real repercussions for this because getting caught using ChatGPT to create a legal document is altogether another thing. So what can we take away? What can we learn from this failure, which was to me a pretty significant failure? Always ask yourself when you're using any generative AI a few questions. Is this what you're getting from the generative AI? Is it going to a third party? It could, maybe through an email, maybe through a report. And then if it's going to a third party, is there anything in here that you should look at with the ultimate source? Is there anything that's been cited? Any opinion, any fact that you say, you look at that and go, that could go either way. Let me just go to the source. In this case, the lawyer should have gone to LexisNexis, taken a look, because maybe it would have just. I mean, here's the thing: ChatGPT did a good job. It brought up cases. Sometimes going to LexisNexis, and I'm not a lawyer, but I have been in LexisNexis before in university. It's a labyrinth in there, and you're trying to find cases. So maybe, hey, it did some of the work and pared down the work in LexisNexis, and then you now can go into LexisNexis and read these cases, and that would have been the next step. So hey, ChatGPT, winner, winner, chicken dinner. But what happened here was a misstep. It was a misstep. Rather than just going back and looking at these cases, just making sure they're actual cases and what the substance of them are, they just took it, filed it. That's what we don't want to do. And what's interesting about this case, in my opinion, is a lot of us will read this and go, not me. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't just grab something like previous court cases, take that information, put it into a document, send it into a live court case. Not me. I'm a professional. I'm a CPA. I'm a lawyer. I'm an engineer. I'm an actuary, including actuaries. I just got to say, because actuaries and accountants. I don't want to give actuaries too many props. And it just goes, not me, because I want to use these tools to make my life bureaucratically easier, help me with research, whatever. Here's the thing. It could definitely be us. It could be you listening. It could be me, because it's easy to lower your guard once you start immersing yourself in generative AI. It really is, because it just neatly packages arguments, research, tools. At some point, it feels like you don't have to question the source, right? We don't necessarily have to do further research into it. So to me, you just need to have some breaks before you use something or send something out. And to me, thinking about how you're going to use this as a third party, is there anything in here that is specifically being cited, right? Like, is it an accounting standard? Check the accounting standard number. Is it a legal case? Is it a regulation? Whatever it might be, just quickly check, because maybe still the structure of what ChatGPT has provided you is pretty good. And then just do another read through of whatever it is you're using ChatGPT for. Just check to make sure that you're not exposed to something that is a hallucination of ChatGPT or generative AI software. Or also, it doesn't have to be just a hallucination where this was completely false. It could be that the conclusions that ChatGPT or the generative AI platform is arriving at is wrong, right? We talked about the alignment problem in artificial intelligence. And if we're using it for like a persuasive argument, a conclusion, We might want to just make sure it's the rationale that we're maybe using the generative AI as a structure for is makes sense. So again, I'm just saying pump the brakes when you use this as a professional and just double check. Double check, use your critical thinking. I'm not saying don't use these tools. These tools are here, they're coming. Should they be regulated? I think so. Should you have caution? Yes. Should you use professional skepticism? Yes. But these tools are here and they're grabbing us, they're going to immerse us, and we don't want to just kind of just deny it all. But we want to learn from these cases. So, absolutely, you'll read more about these cases. You should keep an eye for what can go wrong. I learn a lot from what can go wrong. A lot of my courses, like on Theranos, on I'm going to have a course on FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. When something goes wrong with another company, as long as it's not you, there's a lot of learning because you can kind of take a step back and go, what happened here? What can I use as a post-mortem so I can learn from it? Because this is a real thing that happened to somebody else. And one thing you want to do, and I do this in my courses, is you don't want to put too much distance between that situation and yourself. You don't want to say, oh, well, listen, there's no way I would be like Stephen A. Schwartz. That's not me. I would never do something like that. It's ridiculous. Um, you don't want to put that much distance because, Stephen A. Schwartz, I don't know much about him, but I imagine he's a lawyer, went to schools, educated, has probably good critical thinking skills, and just in a moment of weakness, maybe had a large caseload. Maybe this was, fairly simple case and the conclusions were consistent, just needed a few extra cases as precedent. Kind of just dropped the ball here, right? And so I look at it and say, could I be Mr. Schwartz? Yes, I could. I could easily be working on an accounting memo on an opinion, or for example, what I do, audit and assurance. There's a new, a revised 315 on Canadian auditing standards. It's SAS 145 in the US, and maybe I'm looking to build a PowerPoint on how to convey some of the key changes in the standard. And I go, well, I know the standard really well, but yeah, maybe I don't. But it's huge. It's a massive standard. It's a lot of appendices, a lot of paragraphs. But I go, I can't remember that paragraph. ChatGPT. ChatGPT, can you look up the paragraph on this particular definition? Finds it. I copy paste into my presentation. No harm, no foul, right? Small little thing. But what if it didn't take the right definition? Maybe it took it from the old standard. Maybe it made up a definition. Then I'm presenting this to partners and other people in my constituency for what I do as a public speaker and trainer, and that's not good. It seemed like a little small thing. I'm using it to help me, help add content to my presentation, and I just didn't double check. It got me the information. It cited it for me. I just wanted to just do a quick check, make sure it's the definition. Could I be Mr. Schwartz? I could be. So we could all be Mr. Schwartz. We all want to use generative AI. We want to use it in the ways that we're going to eventually use it more. So maybe baby steps. And some of us might be diving right in. But take a moment. Take a moment. Don't necessarily say I'm beyond this type of situation. We're going to read more and more about these. You just don't want to see yourself in the article. That's the biggest thing. All right. Thank you for those that were for watching today. I see a few of you. Muid, thank you for your comment. Hopefully this has been interesting. I feel like the last 6 or 7 or 8 LinkedIn Lives have been about generative AI, and I think that's all. I also was trying to be reflective of that. Like why do I feel like this is the best sort of topic? One, it's current. It's in the conversational space anyway. But I think for me, this is how I'm priming myself. These LinkedIn Lives. This is how I'm priming myself to say, okay, you gotta SWOT analysis here. We're doing a little bit more of the threats, but this is keeping me in the space. I want to, start to understand how I'm going to adopt these tools for what I do and what Sharif Consulting does, and talking about these different challenges, these different opportunities, things that go right, things that go wrong in the LinkedIn Live space is also good for myself, as I, just like you, have to make this slow, maybe faster transition to say I do probably need to use these tools. I want to use them with caution. I want to use them with purpose. I don't want to have FOMO but I want to start to figure out how to use these tools. But again, maybe if we're not first movers, right, we can see what is working and what isn't, and I can bring that to your attention. Right, I think that's what I'm trying to do as we go through. So thanks for watching. We'll have another LinkedIn Live uh, maybe next week at a different time, possibly in the afternoon, East Coast time. But for all those that were watching, I want to say thank you. Feel free to leave any comments. I was going to start this at the top of the show, but if I don't know how anyone's seasonal allergies are, but I feel like it's like maybe I should ask a generative AI if this is the highest pollen season or whatever causes allergies ever. But I feel a lot of things happening, which is hard as a public speaker when you're on camera when the allergies start picking up. I just thought I'd put that out there if anyone else is experiencing allergies. I mean, you can also send me a private message about that. You don't have to make it public. Yes, allergy sufferer, but I feel like the allergies are getting me. And I'm going to try to figure out how to combat that. But thanks for watching. We'll be back for another LinkedIn Live probably next week. And until then, have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.